What up, YouTube? I got a video for you today, and this is actually a video I figured I'd post it on the channel. I was gonna kind of do a private video for a guy I know on a forum that was asking me about this. And what you see in front of you is my first Kydex press. I've done a lot of fixed blade projects recently that need sheaths. I'm not a big fan of the Cordura sheaths, so I want to do a bunch of other stuff, other knives, and put my Kydex sheath and do the tech lock and all that stuff. And then eventually I want to get just make holsters for my firearms. So basically this is going to be telling you basically what I did to make this, or what I was thinking when I did this. So basically my first drawing was this crazy thing right here, which is basically taking a 12-inch 12 by 16 inch piece, two pieces of wood, and putting the foam in it, and then putting screws through there. That way I could lift it up, put it down. I had cutouts here so I can clamp it, and these are actually going to be, if this was 12 inches here, this was actually going to be it was going to be an additional 4 inches, 2 inches on each side, so it would have ended up being 16 by 20. In making it, I didn't want to go crazy cutting it out and spending all that time doing it, because it really wasn't necessary. A 12 by 16th platform to do your sheaths, it will cover the majority of the stuff that you will have to make a sheath with. I mean, in my opinion anyway, unless you're making something huge, you know, and then you'll probably, you know, with a project like that, you'll probably have to make you can do the sheath in two parts. You can press one part and press the other. So for my purposes, this seemed to work out fine. So that's basically my little sheet. I drew it. I always draw everything out to get my mind figuring out a material list, what I need to do, what's going to be involved, do I have the stuff to do it, whatever. So anyway, basically dimension here, this is 12 inches by 16. And what I did is I wanted to go ahead, and I didn't like the hinge system that a lot of guys do, because it kind of limits, if you have a firearm or whatever, it kind of limits, the hinge limits how far the back will come up, which will make it, you know, you'll be smushing stuff down, which will apply more pressure towards the back and less to the front, so you'll get a firmer press up here and not so much back here. So what I went ahead and did is I went with these guys right here. There are 4 of them, and they are 1/4 screws. They're 4 inches in length. What I went ahead and did is those went through this board here. And let me show you something real quick. This is going to be a longer video, just so I can exactly show you, because basically, like I said, this is kind of a tutorial for a forum member that was asking me. So basically, you get 1/4 screws. You look for 1/4 wing nuts to go with that, and 1/4 nuts. So what I would say is your part list would be for the 4 1/4 bolts at 4 inches long. You're going to need 4 of those. You're going to need 4 1/4 nuts, and I'll show you why in a minute. And you're also going to need 4 washers for here. Now I've got them doubled up here. And the washers just are here for a reason. Let's get this off to the side, I'll show you. Get all this hardware out of the way, get this wing nut out of the way. So basically the way this works is, if you see, I drilled my main holes on this top board, right where these screws are going to come through. And basically, after I cut the wood out, I clamped these together, and I made my marks where I wanted them. If you want the specifics, it's 1.5 inches from the edge here, 4 inches here. So I divide the spacing evenly. So 4 inches, bam, 4 inches, bam, and then 4 inches, so 12. And that's where these 2 screws went. They're 1.5 inches from the back. These guys here are 2 inches from the back and 1.5 inches here. Both here on both spots right there. So 2 inches. 1.5 inches, 2 inches from the back, 1.5 inches. So basically what I did is, after I cut the wood, and basically the wood I used real quick is MDF, and they use it to make cabinets. It's a compressed wood where it's really durable and really sturdy and not as flimsy as plywood. And this right here is it's 1 inch thick. And basically I got a 2 foot by 4 foot piece of this MDF which is more than I needed, but they didn't have it in any smaller pieces. I got it at their local home improvement store, and it was $13 for the wood. The fasteners, the total was like $3 in fasteners. And as far as the foam goes that I used, it's actually it's like a fatigue mat that they would use in an office building. Before I was an iron worker, I did temp work for a while, and we were remodeling an office, and they had a bunch of this fatigue mat, and I grabbed it from my shop. That way I could set it strategically in places, but I had a bunch of it left over. And the fatigue mat, basically, it's kind of firm, so you get a good, nice mold or good definition in your press, but it's still spongy enough where it will wrap and cover and consume whatever item you're going to do a sheath for. So anyway, back to this, and I'll try to, it's going to be all over the place, and try to give you as much information as possible. So these holes, when I drilled them, I drilled the holes out, and then a 1/2 inch to the right and a 1/2 inch in front of them, I drilled another hole, and after I drilled them, because MDF is awesome, because you can really cut through it, and you can use a Dremel, and it's really easy, a lot easier to cut through, but it's still durable. The bad thing about it is MDF is extremely dusty, so you're going to want to cut it outside. It'll dust everything up. It's very fine pressed particles, and if you're doing it inside, wear a mask, because you'll have the MDF boogers in your nose for days. It's just terrible in that aspect of it, but it is pretty strong and easy to work with. So anyway, let's take a closer look. This is what I'm talking about. I went ahead and cut this like so, and then basically what that's going to allow me to do is I have my press. So these slots will allow me to lift this up as high as I need to, all the way up here, to insert material in, because basically the name of the game when you're doing Kydex is when you heat your Kydex, you want to be able to put it where you need to, pop it into press, and put pressure on it. That way it can immediately start to mold around your piece, and that's what those slots are for, to allow this to move up. Now, the reason why I have the slots going this way is if I want to go ahead and slide projects or pieces in this way, I could lift this up like so and do that. Let me get my press here. It's kind of hard to do it behind the camera, but it lifts up just like so from the side, as you can see, and I could go ahead and put stuff in there. So that's pretty much the method to the madness, or why I went with these little crazy slotted holes. Now on the bottom piece of wood, you don't need to do that. So when you drill it out, if you have these clamped together and you drill your holes in there, drill your initial 4 holes, then take the clamp off, and then go ahead and do your other holes there, because you don't need to drill at the bottom. You can drill if you want to drill all of them at one time. It's not going to hurt anything, because the foam will cover those holes there. But these are the only ones, the top ones, that you'll need to go ahead and cut out in that L shape. And this is just optional. I thought of another thing where the hinge system would work too, and I'll go over that in a second. So anyway, basically, that's what the press looks like. Basically, we got, like I said, 1-inch MDF. This foam, like I said, that's as hard as I can pressing in there. It's only halfway, which is really good, which will go around, like I said, it will go around your work, your knife, the gun holster, whatever, and be able to give nice, crisp definition to your sheath or your holster. And basically, the reason why I didn't go with a set hinge design is so that I could put a firearm here with the Kydex, drop this over, and then clamp it in place. Now, these screws right here are not intended to ratchet down and hold your piece tight. It's just there as a simple guide, so when I lift this up, it guides it, pops right back down. Don't have to worry about anything. What you'll want to do with your press, or when you make one, is to go ahead and make sure that you elevate or put 2x4. If you get 1.5 inches of space below here, your average Irwin clamp will fit underneath there. Your regular clamp will fit underneath there, and you don't have to worry about lifting it up, getting it in there. I can just slide this in here like so. Let me see. So these clamps right here are awesome. I use them for everything, but they will fit underneath. So you get your piece in there, bam, bam, done. Easy. You can slide it in and out, and you don't have to teeter and move this around. If you don't put a platform on the bottom of this, you'll have to lift it and clamp it, and like I said, it'll be more time before your piece gets locked in place and that Kydex will have the chance to form over your item. So anyway, that's pretty much it. You got this MDF, like I said, is 12 bucks by 2 foot by 4 foot piece. The hardware was $3. Now, the foam can be got. You can get it at knifekits.com or anywhere else. There's a place called, I think it's Foam for You or something like that, that does have temperature rated foam, which from what I hear on the internet is more durable than any of the other foams you can get for this anywhere else on any knife site. So, but then again, you have to buy it in bulk. And from what I understand, because I haven't been doing I haven't done even one sheath yet, is that after a while the foam does wear out and you'll need to replace it. Now, one thing that I didn't mention that I'm about to now is how do you adhere your foam to your MDF or to whatever board you want to use. You can use anything you want. You just want it to be sturdy. You could use something thin, but you're going to have to reinforce it going across. That way it doesn't give or fatigue or anything. You want it to be nice and firm. That way you get a good clean definition to your sheath or to your holster. So anyway, what I used to adhere the foam on here was this Max Grip carpet installation tape. Now basically this stuff, it's like you see here, it's like a tape, and it goes on. It's really crazy stuff. It goes on, and then when you peel it off, it just leaves the adhesive and these fiber strings that go through there. So you peel it off, and all it's left, like, it's kind of like, it looks like rubber cement to me. But basically I just ran a couple strips down there and was able to put on there. Now, one thing after I was talking to a buddy of mine and going over this is he said that if you use double-sided tape, which is fine, believe it or not, you don't really have to, the foam doesn't have to be 100% secured on there. I mean, basically, as long as it's basically covering, or it's on the wood and not going to roll over or anything, it's fine, because when you press, it'll hold everything in place. But double-sided tape seems to, when you're done, let's say the foam needs to be replaced, you can go ahead and pull your foam up, and it's a lot less cleanup. Where this stuff, I think, once this foam gets done, I'll either have to make another press or scrape the excess glue off of there, because this is a permanent deal. I mean, this is meant to adhere carpet down to floors without having, I mean, this is the strongest you can get without having to use something like a heat to activate the glue when you're doing carpet. So I definitely, this was 12 bucks. It's funny because this was as much as it would, and unfortunately you get more than you need. But I'm gonna plan to use it. I may make another press, or when I need to redo this one, that'll be the case. So that's pretty much it. So like I said, dimensions 12 by 16. Spacing, I just went with 4. Oh, another thing too, if you wanted to go with like the open book type press idea, you could do that. And what you can do is, let me see, I had the idea, is if you wanted the hinge up idea but be able to do the adjustment, what you do is you would go ahead and this piece right here, now you would only be stuck opening it one way. You wouldn't be able to do it like I did and open it both ways, but it depends on what you're doing. But you can go ahead and cut this right here on this side of the bolts. That way it will hinge up, and you still have the added adjustment here to move it up. So if you're doing a big holster, you can have it way up here and still have the hinging capabilities. So in hindsight, I may have done it that way, but I wouldn't have been able to use it both sides. So I mean, there's a way where you can use the hinge area and still be able to do it. Now, let's say the way I have this set up, like if I'm going to do a press, now I put 2 washers on here because the other 2 are for here, and this just helps me so I don't lose it. So let's say I'm going to do a press right here, and usually I'm going to go ahead and do these for, I'm always going to be probably using this direction more so than others. So basically what you'll want to do is these wing nuts here will be set ahead of time. Because basically what you want is you want this to come down, and when you smush this down, this whole the spacing back here of your piece is the same as in the front. That way you get even pressure all the way through. And these wing nuts are what's going to allow you to set your pressure there. If they're too loose, what's going to end up happening is it's going to rock upwards. It's going to go uphill like that. So basically, these are just pretty much descended. The washers are, because of these openings are so big, it covers these openings. That way you don't have the wing nuts going in the hole and causing an issue that way. So anyway, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, I mean, I could help you. This is my first press, and I watched a bunch of videos, and this is what I, from what I watched, I drew my little diagram, and this is what I came up with. As far as, if let's say you have foam laying around the house, a good way to test whether it's going to be, if it's going to be heat resistant, or whether or not the foam is going to break apart and stick to the Kydex because it's too hot, because the heat's too much for it, is if you take a little corner piece of that foam, and if you take a piece of Kydex, like let's say you take a 1/4 inch, sliver about the size of your pinky, right? 1/4 inch by a couple inches, and then you take your foam and you lay it on a piece of wood with the Kydex just laying right on top of it, and then you take the heat gun and you cook the crap out of the Kydex. I mean, you do this way hotter, get it so it curls up or whatever, and then once you do that, apply pressure to it, make sure it's really like wraps around that piece of Kydex, or wraps around a piece of foam, and let it cool down. And if you can peel it up, or another thing is, while it's heated, if you touch the foam and the Kydex is hotter than the foam, then you're good. But if you peel it up and no foam sticks to that, then you're probably going to be okay. I think the temperature is 270 something degrees or 240 degrees or something to get Kydex to really where it'll mold nice. Sometimes a little hotter. But if it'll do that, then your foam's fine. So before I went ahead and glued this foam to this piece that I made, I went ahead and did that test. I took a piece of, cut a little corner off of the Kydex, that way I didn't waste the whole sheet. And then I went ahead and hit the heat gun to it, and it rolled over. It was real hot, peeled it up, and no foam stuck on there, so I know it was good to go, and I went ahead with this foam. So I haven't done a press yet. I could do a press and it'd just be horrible. The foam just totally sucks. I don't know, but I'll keep you posted on that. So anyway, sorry about the long video, 17 minutes, but I did have a lot to explain. Hopefully this information here will help you out there as far as that goes. Oh, as far as when you attach these, let's take a look at the bottom of this real quick. I almost forgot. So when you attach these here, as you can see, I've got the nut, or the bolt, the head of the bolt here. On this underside of the bottom board, on the underside of this board right here, you're going to want to make a hole, or you're going to want to countersink it so the nut goes in there and doesn't affect the foam laying nice and flat on there. So you're going to have to countersink that. And basically 4-inch screws, you're going to have to ratchet it. I have an attachment for my drill, so I just hit it from the back. And that's pretty much what I did there. So you're going to have to countersink the holes there. So like I said, that's why you're going to need 4 of these screws, 4 regular nuts, and 4 wing nuts. Because the regular nuts are going to anchor these bolts to the bottom sheet of MDF. Countersink them, and then you can put your top piece through there. And yeah, that's pretty much basically it. I can't think of anything else I could possibly tell you. But yeah, it's pretty inexpensive. All in all, I'd say if you bought the foam, it'll probably be the most expensive part of your thing. You're probably going to have to end up spending like 20 or 30 bucks. But you'll have enough foam to replace it at least once. So 30 bucks in the foam, 20 bucks, or no, actually 12 bucks for the MTF, 12 bucks for the carpet tape. If you go with double-sided tape, it's even cheaper. You can go 5 bucks there. So 12 plus 5 is 17, plus the hardware was like 4 bucks. 21 plus the foam, 30 bucks there. So, 50-something bucks, and you have a press. So, it's still a lot cheaper than the presses they sell. But, it's at the halfway point. Maybe you're just like, whatever, I just want something professionally made, then you can go that way. But anyway, there you go. Thanks for hanging in there with me in this long video, but I just wanted to give you as much information possible. That way you can go ahead and do this and be able to go from start to finish without any hiccups or anything, or reference this video, and hopefully I got all the information. If not, you can contact me or post a comment below for any questions, and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. So guys, take it easy. I appreciate you tuning in. Peace.